Okay, good morning again. I'd like to welcome PWU, Batangas State University, University of Northern Philippines, other Metro Manila campuses, faculty and students, fellow artists and designers, and members of our art and cultural communities. My roommate in art school at California Institute of the Arts was a graphic design major. I began as a painting major and ended up graduating with a BFA in something called post-studio art. For many years, I had no idea what I majored in. I mean, what is post-studio art? And what was I going to do with this degree? My roommate, on the other hand, well, she knew exactly what she would do as an aspiring graphic designer. We joked about how she would inevitably make more money than I would because of the specific skill sets that she was sure to obtain by the end of our undergraduate studies. And who knew what kind of money I could or would make? I certainly didn't have a clue. After all, it was the dawn of the postmodern era. My roommate, inspired by many years in the Peace Corps and years of living abroad, later would wind up being a principal for a high school in Portland, Oregon. 32 years later, I am now confident in saying that my major, quite literally, meant an art practice where I could create art inside and outside of the studio. Post-studio is a form of interdisciplinary art. Today's symposium is a venture into locating and discussing where Philippine art and design practices converge and diverge. As someone who did not grow up in the Philippines, but has always seen and greatly admired the talent exhibited in artisanal crafts and modern and contemporary art, I always wanted to know why there seemed to be such a strong pull towards Western art and design practices, and understand what appeared to be the separation between these practices. I don't believe that this disconnect can simply be reduced to our Spanish and American colonial legacies. Education plays a big role in whether or not artists and designers will think and create out of pre-prescribed boxes. And of course, confidence in oneself to do so. This Art Design Symposium represents a sampling of artists and designers who transcend stereotypical and rigid boundaries of what it means to be an artist and a designer. The presenters who you will hear today wear many hats and are inspired to create for a multiplicity of reasons. The common bound between all of them, is their ability to internalize and create out of multiple identities that inherently reflect upon nationalism, personal experiences, artistic, social, and other cultural concerns in different aesthetic languages and materials, and create a plethora of artworks and design products, which at their core is about Philippinization and globality. I asked the stellar group of designers and artists to address the following questions in relation to what they think constitutes art and design today. How do artists and designers think about and implement the relationship between the visual and contemporary arts and design? What are the various perspectives on what constitutes art and design? Similarities, differences, convergent practices. What are the differences between technical and creative designers? How do artists and designers' perspectives on what constitutes art and design affect their practices? Are there differences in how they see the relationship between art and design? If a designer has studied, worked, or visited cosmopolitan cities outside of the Philippines, there are, of course, many more questions that can be asked. But then it is my sincere hope that this symposium serves as an opening to many more such events where creatives in their respective fields can gather together to share our diverse perspectives about our cultural practices and open up spaces for future generations to contemplate what the relationship between art and design means to them in a world where the marketplace dominates and technological innovations influence how and what we will create. Without further delay, I would like to now introduce the presenters on the first panel session. Ringo Bunoan, who's the moderator, Patis Tesoro, architect Christina Toralba, and Mihan Levy.
Welcome to the first panel of the first Art Design Symposium here at PWU. I'm Ringo Bunoan, and I'll be the moderator for this morning. I'm very honored to introduce three speakers for this morning, beginning with Ms. Patis Tesoro. Patis was exposed to embroidery with the Assumption nuns in Iloilo when she was a child. After studying at Mary Marshall Elementary and Secondary School, she took a year of college at Mary Road in Detroit and continued college studies at Mary Marshall. At the age of 19, she met and husband, Taft Tesoro, a member of the Tesoro family. The Tesoros operate the largest chain of handicraft stores in the country, and it was through this that she entered into the world of fashion design. To her mother-in-law, who commissioned her to create a new line of embroidered blouses to go with the then popular blue jeans. 10 years later, she opened her own label, Patis, and staged her first fashion show in 1984. Since then, her clothes and fabric have been exhibited in New York, St. Louis, San Francisco, Toronto, Brussels, Osaka, Bangkok, Beijing, and Paris. In 1984, Patis and a group of friends founded the Patrones de Casa Manila Foundation, an organization whose aim is to educate people on Philippine history through the preservation and restoration of its architecture and way of life. Such activities included the refurbishment of an authentic turn of the century dwelling in Intramuros. And there was also a living museum wherein members of the Patrones and their families would dress in authentic Filipiniana and reenact everyday activities. It was while researching for authentic materials that she visited Calibo Aklan and found that traditional skills of weaving pineapple fiber were on the decline. Along with this, she personally worked for a revival of the piña fabric. In the Dumaguete, Negros Oriental, she was responsible for the development of a new type of piña called the piña Bisaya, which is woven from the leaves of the Philippine green pineapple. We also have Mihan Levy seated beside me, who is an educator and researcher. Her main field of interest is on Philippine textiles, and this interest stems from her involvement with the Ringo Foundation, where she worked as creative director for 4 years. Ringo Foundation is an organization that teaches and trains women from Puerto Princesa City how to weave piña cloth. She has done research work for various book projects, the most recent being Art and the Order of Nature, the Mercedes Zobel collection of indigenous Philippine textiles. This book accompanies the exhibition at the Ayala Museum, Art and the Order of Nature and Indigenous Textiles. And she's currently in the process of completing her master's degree in Philippine Studies at the Asian Center of the Ringo Bunoan. Last but not least, we have Ms. Cristina Toralba, who has had a long and extensive career as an architect. Together with her husband, she founded the Active Group of Companies in 1970, and since then has been a dynamic player in real estate development. Her projects range from socialized middle-income housing to urban high-rises and luxury resorts and leisure communities. She was also a professor at the Philippine College of Architecture and is an advocate for heritage conservation. She's the author of numerous publications, including the book Philippine Heritage Architecture, and co-author of Philippine Heritage Homes, which was published by Antwerp. So without further ado, we'd like to begin the presentations, starting with Ms. Patricia Sola.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me, the family of PWU. I will start first with the piña process. I believe most of you know piña. It is iconic to the Philippines. It is our identity. We are the only country in the whole world that grows, weaves, and wears piña. Tararan, diba? Let me go fast here, and then as I go, you will realize that piña cannot die, and it is your duty, as it is my duty, to make it continue for generations to come. So, Angel, okay, we begin the piña process. These are the tools of piña. You have the bao, you have the porcelain shard, you have the clam, you have the hand, and what I forgot to put in is the foot. And you have two kinds of piña. Up on top is piña that is just taken from the plant, and the second one is piña fiber that has been dried in the sun and processed a little bit. We go to the next one. Okay, we go a little faster. The farmer here is planting pineapple, but this is the Spanish red variety. The leaves are about 5 to 7 feet long, and the pineapple is very small and stringy. So nobody eats the fruit, precisely because even the animals are not given that, precisely because it's the leaves that are very important. We revived the piña about 30 plus years ago. It was really dying out. You see here the pineapple. It's really small in the middle of tall pineapple leaves. In the Philippines, we grow 4 kinds: red Spanish, Hawaiian, Formosa, and I don't know how to pronounce the last one. The red Spanish is the one you see here. Okay. And you see, the lady here is looking at this huge, tall growth of piña. It looks messy. It's not what you see in Tagaytay or like that. Yeah. And she, with her eye, has to pull it by hand with very sharp edges. You know, the pineapple has sharp edges. And she's choosing the mature leaves for fiber extraction. So usually it is grown in mountainous areas. The terrain is not very good, and you can plant between coconut and bananas and stuff like that. So somewhere shady, she just uses a plank of wood, a an old mat, and she puts the leaves down. Notice how long the leaves are, okay? And now she's starting to strip. Usually on a good day, she might be able to do 100. And you cannot harvest during the rainy season because you will get amag. You'll get the black spots, no? Because it's raining. Look at her hand, huh? She's holding one leaf, okay? So she's taking out first the sides of the leaf, which is very sharp. And then these are her tools. It has not changed for hundreds of years. It's Chinese shard of porcelain. It has to be the fine porcelain. And it has to be, you know, today when you buy the plates, it's very thick, very heavy, because they don't want, you know, when it falls on the ground, it won't break. But here, it has to be very fine so that you can actually strip the leaves with it. And then you have the bao, you sharpen the side, and you have the clam. I don't know if you call this Manila clam. In abroad, they call it Manila clam. I have no idea. No? Okay. And so, look at the way she's seated. She's on her buttocks. She stays like that for hours. And she holds on to the leaf, the thick part on the back, the narrow part in front, and she starts very quickly. This is very slow. In 1 second, she's whoosh. She takes out the first layer of piña, and that's the covering, no? And she does it with the porcelain shard, and this is called bastos, or rough or crude. So she's stripping it towards her. Look at her feet. Look at that. And then the second layer of fiber is called liniwan, and she's using the coconut bao. In the old days, they would separate that. They even separated it 3 times. Today, it's all together because people want to make money and it's too tedious for them. They have to have time to play with their iPhones. So you see how she's doing that. And she's doing this for 100 leaves, okay? And this is a close-up of scraped piña, which she puts into bunches. I don't know how many, maybe 10, maybe 5. And a close-up. Usually, and even now, they will go to a stream that's fast-moving and clean. And they will wash the glucose out of the leaves. Why fast-flowing? Because the glucose will flow, yeah? And she gets a clam, the Manila clam, and she starts, well no, she starts fanning this out. She fans it, so more glucose out. And there's the clam. She's combing like hair. She's combing out the glucose. And here are the ready to dry. There are 3 kinds of fibers: the bastos, the pinarupok, and the liniwan. Pinarupok is between. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But now everything is the same. For photography purposes, we put it on the ground so you can see the length of the fiber, 5 to 7 feet. When it's dry, when it's dry, she gets a piece of bamboo and she starts beating the fibers to get out more glucose, to make it, you know, like hair, you know, separate. And this is a close-up of it being beaten and loose. Now, here is another woman getting the fiber and stretching it. This is a comb. Comb, the hair. Comb, piña. It's in the old days, they would make this comb. It's very fine. The finer the comb, the finer your fiber. Today, you will see it's terrible. She uses a hairbrush. So if you get piña that's hairy, you know why. Yeah. So she's brushing out the fiber. It also makes the fiber, you lose a lot of percentage of fiber when you do it that way. And so you have here the palayok, and you have here a bamboo and the piña fibers not put there like hair. So it's called tinaga. When you're starting to knot the fiber, you put it inside the palayok, knotted, and it's called tinaga. And she's using a sailor's knot for every leaf. Okay? In the old days, it was a piece of sharpened bamboo that would cut the edges. So, you know, if you see that the barong you buy has, you know, hairy stuff, it's not well done. That means it's in a hurry, no? And here's the tinaga. And at night, they would cover that because no cat, no dog, no anything can move that, you know, like a pancake. And so here is the pancake, the tinaga, and this is another kind. And this goes to market. So we have Wall Street once a week in Kalibo Market, where the knotters, the farmer and the knotter family, they go and they put in the marketplace for the weavers to come and buy. But now I think because the demand is so strong, the knotters go directly now to the weavers. So this is an ancient weighing device. There is Spanish coins on one side, and the Spanish coins have a certain weight and a certain price. Like say this big would be 100 pesos, like that. So they would weigh the tinaga on one side, and they would put the Spanish coin, go like this, and then the price. But today, the price is the tinaga is weighed. You know, the one that they use for baking, you know, the small weighing thing, they use that now. Usually, about 3 or 4 or something will cost about 4,000 pesos. Very expensive. So these are weaving areas in Laguna, in Aklan. You see here, the windows, it's a closed area because you cannot have anything that can, no wind, no nothing. So what happened to Aklan when there are floods and all of that is really terrible. Yeah, I think this is typical of the Visayas, and I cannot read what that is. This long warping thing, and so this is the loom. It's a sitting loom. It's not a backstrap loom. So you can even see a man there weaving. It's very lucrative. A close-up of the fibers. That's a really close-up, you know, yeah. And here they're putting a pattern, so they do it very old-fashioned. The computer is in the brain. They're putting a pattern here which is called suksuk. So you have barongs that you can buy that have the suksuk on it. This is it. These are the shuttles. You can see in the middle that they use a piece of straw to put the fiber. So they have to put the fiber into the shuttle, so you go this way. In between, you have the warp and the weft. There is suksok, there's a barong being made with piña seda. Now that's available in the market a lot. A lot of it's available because when you buy pure piña, it is very tedious. Silk is very easy. If you look in the microscope, it has like hooks. Silk has hooks, so if any of you have gone to Thailand and you see them, you know, doing this vat of hot water with what do you call that? The silk cocoons, and then you see that's because the claws are doing like this, you know. But pineapple is one by one. It's a fiber, plant fiber. So this has quickened the process. Yeah. Some more, and now we have introduced the embroiderers of Lumban to go to Kalibo, and they are hired by the weavers to do their own barong. Before it was always separated, the islands were separated. Now we have made it come together, so you can buy barongs also in Kalibo. That's me working, and I do a lot of pinya. This is my workshop where I do hand painting. Hand painting on pinya seda. This is, I think we're the only country in Southeast Asia now that does embroidery, hand painting. We take it for granted. Can you raise your hand? Who owns any pinya? Anything that's pinya? Oh my, all the students in the back, no? Why? Why not? Too expensive? Your parents don't have it? Did you know that just 100 years ago, everybody wore pinya? Yeah. Now, if you don't even buy a handkerchief or something, your generation will have nothing to give to your children. That's a given. Okay. And these are pinya, and that is niag-au patajong that I embroidered, made patong another tela, cut it out like this. Even the embroiderers of Lumban you take for granted, they're dying out. I am having a hard time. I started my business when I was 19. I'm now 64. I'm having a hard time finding people today to work in hand, even hand embroidery. Hard. Why? Why? This, I never throw the tassels, so this is a hodgepodge of everything I make. I have gone to India to buy saris, and because India is 100 million, 1 billion people, I don't know, we're 100 and plus, we can't make enough. So this, I never throw one piece of pinya away, because it's just so expensive and you can't find it. As the years go by, the fine embroidery is dying out. And these are just, at the end of January next year, I am going to have an exhibit in the Museo de Antropología Madrid, who has the biggest collection of Spanish and pre-Spanish pineapple. And I will be showing our new piña. We cannot compare to the old, no? Cannot. Yeah, these are just, well, not just, these are all collections of pineapple, different kinds. Silk cocoon. This is all weaving in fabric. Weaving in fabric. Ah yeah, my herb garden, and those are all panuelos. Now you say to this is it, thank you. Now you say to yourself, who can afford piña? I think everybody can. Piña material by itself, you can buy at 350, piña liniwan at 900. Why did they raise the price of liniwan? You saw it, no? I think to make it exist, you have to pay for this work. You say, well, the regular person cannot. Yes and no. You can do retazos. Now let me just show you. This is pre-war barotsaya. So all of you know this barotsaya, right? Look at the pattern. American period, and everybody wore this. Everybody in Lumbang, everybody in the marketplace, and it was done in pinya. Now, when Loni came, the industrial period, he brought in cotton renge. You call this renge. This is cotton renge, done in Switzerland in those days, no? 19th century. So everybody wore it. So the market was Filipino. Today, nothing at all. The best I can find is some polyester netting that, you know, our climate is very hot, so when your body breathes, it becomes soft. That's the best I can do. So all those ternos you have, the sleeves today are soft because it is nylon. This one, why is it hard? Gaw-gaw. Any of you know gaw-gaw? I still gaw-gaw. Gaw-gaw. I do it. It's a talent. Don't put down craft. Don't put down. I pay my lavandera almost 9,000 pesos a month because she knows how to gaw-gaw. Now, any of you know the process of gaw-gaw? You cannot gaw-gaw when it's raining. It's soft. It has to be with the sun. Oh, there's a process. There's a process. Everybody's washing machine. Now, let me go faster. From that, today I made this. What is it, you say? It's natural dye. It's natural from the bark of the local teak. You know, we have a local teak. Huh? I got this from Abra as little seedlings 30 years ago, and now they're taller than this room, taller, 1.5 taller, and you get this dye from the bark. And we followed the pattern, but if you come close, that pattern is bigger than this. Our threads are also, the specialty threads are gone. Threads from Spain, from France, it's gone. So what do you have? Second-class threads. This is, again, a traditional panuelo. All of you recognize that, right? Traditional because this is siguro early 19th pattern with ilang-ilang and grapes. If you see, it has a pattern of ilang-ilang and grapes. This is a new pattern in pineapple and silk. Machine done. Okay. Now, you say to yourself, how do you make a business out of this? How does my creativity work? How do I come up with this? Well, I was taught as a little girl, 6 years old, how to embroider in Assumption. It was a convent. So you have to know in any, I think they will talk to you about it. In anything you do, you have to know the old before you can do the new. You have to study writing, the writers of Hemingway, blah, blah, blah. With me, it's embroidery. You have to know that. Painting, you have to know the old masters, and you draw the old masters. It's a discipline. Any art, any business is a discipline. Art especially is a very difficult business. It's also a very difficult discipline. An artist, if they're good, they wake up at 5 in the morning, they go like an office. They take their breakfast, they go to work, 8 to 12, they sleep siesta, they go back to work again. They work harder than the bank teller. Why? Because at night you cannot sleep because you're dreaming. You're dreaming. I dream a lot. Where do I get my ideas? Everywhere. I know how to do a pattern from scratch. I don't do lang the sewing machine because I'm afraid of the needle. And so I can tell the worker, hello, your pattern's wrong. And how do I do like this? I made a modern Maria Clara. You just study the Maria Clara. You say it's loose sleeves, loose body, white neck. Tararan. You have the T. You know, it's like a t-shirt. So creativity really comes from observation, discipline, talent. If you don't have a talent and you try and try, I think everybody's an artist. Really, I do. But some are better at mathematics, some are better at something else, you know. I'm very bad in math, geometry. That's why I got married at 19. I was failing in Tagalog, geometry, trigonometry, Filipino. I was failing in everything. And I didn't like the system. I'm an outlier. And that was 1960-something. You're never an outlier during those days. I wore red lipstick. I still have it now. I had big eyeglasses, now I have small. Everybody thought I was weird. And I was. I still am. Are you afraid to be weird? Well, there's weird and there's weird. Okay? If you think of art as, I want to make money, go somewhere else. It's like any business, you've got to make it grow. If you are lucky to have parents who can feed you, give you a house, so that you can hone your talent, you're really lucky. If you have to go and earn a living, you can do art at night. I don't only do embroidery, I also draw. Did I earn money when I was young? Yes and no. My husband at that time earned 500 pesos a month. I earned nothing until after the birth of my first son. Then I decided to go into dressmaking because my mother, that's how she did her business. She had a costura in her house. And I was watching, I would do dolls at that time, rag dolls. And in the beginning years, it was pretty tough. I didn't know how to cut and sew. Customers stood in front of me and ripped the dress in front of me. I almost died. You know, I didn't want to go on. But I did. Tiyaga, ayan, you need perseverance. Tell me when I'm up, okay? Yeah, perseverance. Art is also a lonely job. You're alone in your room, dreaming dreams that you don't know if people want it. And when you put it out, you're frightened to death because if they don't like it, you're a failure. No, you're not. You just got a group of people who don't like your work. That's all. You gotta find them. You gotta find them. In the beginning, when I started to do Filipiniana, and I would wear ternos and barotsayas, I was approached by several people and said, "Are you with the Bayanihan group?" And I would go, "Yeah, bobo." Stereotype. Don't stereotype. I think Filipinos are very talented. We know how to sing, to dance. We're great artists. There is a school in Cebu, maybe you know, the one that did Star Wars or something I forgot, and they turn out artists. You know, one of the biggest comic artists, they send it by email, and many of them live in San Pablo City. An artist also needs a good environment. You cannot do art if you're in not a quiet, inspirational environment. If you're in a noisy environment, if you live near the railroad tracks, or you have a very noisy family, hala, I don't know if you can. Yes, yes. Everybody has to have quiet time. And I don't know, I'm very environmental. I have moved to Laguna. We sold our house in San Juan just this year. And I've had this place in Laguna. I have less than a hectare. I have a bed and breakfast. I have a cafe. I have lots of trees. You can eat the leaves. 99.9 organic. The 1% is sometimes they get bygone because the ilang-ilang loves this pilas. Do any of you know what pilas is? You know the uod that has the big, ano ba yan? Yung fur, and when it hits you, oh my God. Hello, how many of you live in the province? None? Nothing? Whoa, yeah, but maybe the province that's in the town. Yeah, because this you see in the environment. Yeah. I think artists needs inspiration. If you go to gallery shows or even on TV and you see this artwork that shows death and killing and what you call the city artists, that's their environment. That's their environment. Then when you see Filipiniana, like Botong Francisco, stuff like that, that was their environment. Yeah. I do works of art that have relation to Filipino things because we evolve. What we did in the past, we cannot do today. What we paint today or do things today, never did or never knew in the past. So live in the today. Live in the today. So, is there anything else? Nothing much. We will listen to the panel after this. Around the table. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patis.